it must have been, 2008,
Yeah.
20 plus team members, you've grown, you've expanded. And I mean, there've been a lot of like pivotal moments, but I think there's one, if you're open to talking about it and sharing it,
Sure.
that took place then.
Yeah. So, well, in 2007, started making money. And so I put all that money into the VA business. So we're building the VA business. And, but in 2008, I hit definitely a roadblock. In June of 2008, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I've been pretty open about that, and I've done some public speaking in my hometown for support for breast cancer survivors. But it definitely woke me up. I wish it didn't happen. I wish I didn't have to go through the stress and the fear and the treatment. But looking back on it, it was a good thing.
Yeah. In what type of, I mean, just when that happened, how did that impact, just kind of your day-to-day, how you would run the firm?
Well, I just realized then, first of all, foremost, my kids have to know who I am. And I was there and present, weekends, I did a lot as much as I could at school for them. But I was like, this has to change. I can't be that person that works 60, 80 hours a week. I have to figure out how to scale this business.
So then what happens next? How does it change the approach? Because I know at the time, I mean, you were very much in the business. I think you kind of transitioned to now working on the business. What were some of the decisions that you made?
I had to grow as a leader. So I always led by example. I was just the hard worker. I'm first one in, last one out, the hard worker, work harder. And at some point you're like, I'm on a hamster wheel here. And so I have to figure out how to do this. So I went back to the basics. Red, Good to Great, E-Myth, How to Win Friends and Influence People, the 21 Laws of Leadership. Just went back to the basics and said, I've got to scale this business, and went back to the core values. Who are we? So the core values, and started developing those. You think those would have been easy to do. I had a team of 26, and I picked a handful of people and said, who are we? And so when I'm not here, decisions can be made on long as these core values. So I started there, and then started getting things that were in my head and in my team's head down on paper, and they became SOPs and manuals. And that wasn't something I said, okay, I'm going to do this now, and then I'm good to go. It took years to get this done, because things change. As you scale, processes change as fast, so you have to keep changing. But it was a start, and that really the key was getting the foundation and the core and who we are, and then building from there.
And I imagine it was tough to let go, right? Because I mean, you wanted to maintain the standard of excellence and how things were being done. How did you learn to eventually do that?
It was one painful thing taken away at a time. I first gave up HR, so gladly, by the way. And so you slowly say, I can't, if I try to do everything in the firm, I am a master of nothing. And so just things that I was probably weakest at, I'm very operationally based, so I felt pretty good there. And I had a great person with me that was very operational minded. So first thing I did was, what I am not very good at is HR. And so I hired that for the first part, kind of a manager too. And then just slowly, I had to become a leader. And that doesn't come naturally for me. But it took me from 2008 probably until 2016 to fully get to where I felt the firm wasn't outgrowing me.